Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So sorry I look like this, but this is the start of a reading vlog with spoilers, and you know, we don't have to look perfect in those. So this is for the book Dead to Her by Sarah Pinborough, and the only thing I really know about this book is that it is a like domestic psychological thriller, I think. And I actually started reading this the other day. Like, I was just testing it out the other day and didn't have my camera out. So I think I'm 10% in already. And so far I am liking it. There's not a lot to talk about at the moment, but I do have a better understanding of like what the book is about. This one, like I guess the main character lady, I don't remember people's names, but she married into like this wealthy family, and she is kind of like bored. I guess the husband kind of like is controlling, I guess, or I guess anybody that's like part of this like business, any of those husbands are like really controlling. Her husband's boss just married like a really young wife, and she's like super attractive, and now this lady feels like, you know, she's like threatened by her because her own husband, I guess, thinks that his boss's wife is attractive and stuff. So it's like two couples that I think are going to be like kind of fighting, kind of, you know, sleeping with each other and like that type of thing. So we're kind of learning a little bit about each person's background and just like how they are as characters. But it's just been very interesting so far. Like, it was really easy for me to read those first like 10% or whatever. I almost said 10 pages, but no, the first 10%. And so I'm going to sit here. I actually have a couple hours before I have to go to work, so I'm really hoping to knock out a big chunk of this. Read Sarah Pinborough's first book, Behind Her Eyes, and I gave it 5 stars, but that was in the very beginning of like my reading journey. So who knows what I'm gonna think. I actually have her other book, Cross Her Heart, but I've never picked it up yet. It's still on my shelf over there in my red books, like the color red books. I'm going to start reading this. Hopefully we like it. This is an ARC copy. I'm just reading it on my Kindle because I got it off of NetGalley, and so it's gonna be great if I read it and then, you know, mark off that percentage, and I just love it. I love reading my NetGalley books and like seeing my percentage go up. I'm telling you guys, here in 2020, I'm going to hit 100% at least once, and I'm gonna screenshot it, put it up here, and yeah, I'm real excited for it. I really despise this Jason character because, so Marcy is the wife who we're reading about mostly, and then Jason is her husband, and then the other couple is William and Kaisha, and it just makes me like, I love reading about this stuff in books just because it like brings so much emotion. And by the way, I think I forgot to preface that this whole video is gonna have spoilers in it. So if you haven't read this book, you probably should not watch this video because I'm gonna spoil you on like everything. Now, let me say how I'm at 13%. I think this is chapter 9. Marcy just found out that Jason went out for lunch like with William and Kaisha, and she, like, Marcy goes to like go to the lunch or whatever, and I don't know, like my heart is pounding because he's there and Jason's like leaning in on every beautiful word that Kaisha says, and I don't know, I have a feeling that like Jason wants to start an affair with Kaisha, but at the same time I'm almost wondering if this is like a ploy, you know, for the plot to kind of like make you think this, but then maybe Jason's gonna like help Kaisha get away from William, which is like her husband. He's like super old though, and according to what I've read so far, like an asshole. Yeah, I'm just like reading this and I'm like, oh my gosh, of course Jason is there and didn't tell his wife to come to the lunch. Like, he totally lied about it, and it makes me so mad. What? So Kaisha just said that she hasn't been flirting with Jason. She actually has been wanting Marcy this whole time. I'm 28% in, and I was actually like loving how Kaisha and Marcy were like getting along and drinking tequila and getting high and stuff like that. Because I thought that they were gonna like maybe form an alliance or something, but Marcy called out Kaisha and was like, why are you flirting with my husband all the time? And she's like, I'm not, like, I like you. And yeah, did not see that coming. So really interested to see where this is going now. Okay guys, so I am stopping at the 28% mark because I have to leave for work in a half an hour, and I'm making some like beef stew in my Instapot for dinner for my husband. I actually already pressure cooked the like beef because it was frozen. So I'm gonna let out the steam for that, and then I'm gonna add all my vegetables and slow cook it for like the rest of the day so my husband can eat it later when he gets home. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I will catch up with you guys another day when I continue reading Dead to Her. I might actually read some tonight after work if I'm feeling it, if I'm not like super tired. So maybe I'll see you guys tonight. So today it is a couple days later since you've last seen me. It is Friday, February 7th, I believe, and I am going to continue reading Dead to Her. I just have to figure out where I was at. So I am 47% of the way through Dead to Her. Pretty sure you can't even see this. And I did read some the other day, even though I wasn't filming. I think it was last night that I was reading some because I've been off the last 2 days. And it's just, I don't know, like I didn't update you guys because I just really didn't know what to say. I feel like I didn't have very many thoughts about anything. It was just, I don't know. This book is definitely different than I expected it to be. It is really like voodoo and weird and very like smutty too, because we found out that like Marcy and what's the other girl's name? Kaisha, like they both are like loving each other now, and so they went to like this really weird party where like everyone took their clothes off and had sex with each other, and so it's literally just been talking about Marcy and Kaisha like having sex all the time behind like their husband's back. And so I don't know, it just feels really weird. It's not really a traditional thriller in my opinion. It's definitely a lot more like smutty. Yeah, smutty is definitely the word I think for this. So I don't know exactly how I'm feeling, but I'm gonna sit down and read some of this. I made like an apple spice drink thing. Hopefully I don't fall asleep drinking this. It is 9:25 p.m. and so I really want to get to 75% tonight. That way I just have like one more day of filming and reading this book, and so hopefully I can just knock out like 75% in the next like hour and a half, and then go to bed by 11 because I want to hop on tomorrow when my video goes live. My Tri-Chapter Romance video is going live at 10 o'clock, and I want to be on there to chat with you guys. So this girl needs sleep. Okay guys, today is February 11th, I think. Today's the 11th, and I'm trying to finish up Dead to Her because technically today is the day that it's published, and I really want to post my review on like Goodreads, but also like post a picture on Instagram and stuff. So I am 74% in, and I wanted to update you guys because like I really don't think I'm gonna be rating this book very high. It's taken me a really long time to read it because it's just not that great of a thriller in my opinion. It's more of like a very smutty like suspense type of book. I don't know. What I don't like about it is that I feel like it's too long for what it needs to be. I feel like there are constantly these times where it's like the same things are being said over and over again, but by different characters. So like for instance, Marcy will be like, oh, I wonder if this is happening, but I wonder if this is happening, but I wonder if this is happening. You know, like a couple pages later, it'll be like Kaisha's chapters, and then she'll do the same thing and be like, but what if this is what's happening? And it's just like the same thing over and over again throughout the whole book. And I don't like that because I feel like the author is trying to get us to like think all these different things so we're not, you know, thinking what's actually going to happen, but she's like using that within the characters and she's doing it too often, if that makes any sense. And so that's just like, I don't know, I just feel so bored reading that over and over and over again, because instead of having a book be 400 some pages and have that all the time, I would much rather have the book be 300 pages, but you actually getting to the point and me not sitting here waiting constantly for the characters to just keep trying to guess what's happening. I don't know. Right now, it's actually kind of a little action-packed because Kaisha thought she was gonna go to jail for killing or trying to kill William. And now I think they're bringing Jason in because Jason has been stealing money from the company. And so the detective is like at Marcy's house. Jason already left because he's getting questioned, and so Marcy is sitting there with the detective and they're literally like, oh, we have to do like a full search, so you're gonna have to like leave and go somewhere. So I'm like interested to see what's going to happen with this, but 74%, so I'm really hoping that like things are gonna start picking up here for a second, because really I just feel like it's kind of just been tossed around the whole entire time. And this story, it doesn't really have much depth to it. It's like the whole time we're kind of like skimming above the surface, and I feel like I'll really get to kind of like talk about that once I talk about the synopsis, because I feel like, I don't know, this is just a weird book. Oh my gosh, I literally despise when guys say stuff like this. Like, this does not sound believable at all. Let me move this camera. You know how when Jason was like flirting with Kaisha the whole time? So anyway, Jason's making the excuse that he did everything he did because he was like, you don't love me anymore, Marcy. And she was like, me not love you? She said, you're the one that's been salivating all over Kaisha since she arrived. And he goes, she's a cheap money grabber. I flirted with her to make you jealous. Nothing was good enough for you anymore. I could see you growing colder to me. I wanted our fire back, our passion. When you get so testy about her, it made me unhappy. Sure, it was an unhealthy way to get your attention, but it worked. What? No. Number one, I just feel like if a guy does do this in real life, that is totally the wrong way to do it. And if they don't do it in real life, I just can't believe that like that was one of the ways to throw people off, is to make it seem that Jason was like, you know, attracted to Kaisha, and then later on here at 83% be like, oh, I was just doing that because I wanted you to love me. Like, no. Said to her was a extremely weird thriller, in my opinion. So we first find out about Marcy and Jason, who is this married couple, but they are living in this like wealthy type of community in the South. And whatever business Jason does, he does it with this older guy, William. It's part of like his company. So Jason always feels like he needs to like be like William and have as much money as William and the other like rich couples. So we find out that Marcy, used to be like a waitress, and Jason married her. It's like his second wife. He cheated on his first wife for Marcy, and so she kind of came from nothing and is living in this like rich type of thing, and she tried to like start her own boutique, and that failed, and it cost Jason a lot of money. And so we see all of this like bad feelings towards Marcy in the beginning, and we see that William, he had a wife, Eleanor, who was very old and got sick and just died, and he went off to London and came back with this very beautiful and pretty black woman who is also very wild and kind of does what she wants. And we kind of find that she has a background where her family does a lot of things that are like against the law, and she kind of only married William for his money. So we see all of these like hints from these old family members that I guess have emailed her saying like, oh, is he dead yet? Like, you know, you need to give us money, stuff like that. So we see these types of stories happening. So Jason keeps looking at Kaisha all the time and is like obviously attracted to her, which makes Marcy angry. But Jason wants Marcy to be friends with Kaisha because Jason wants to buy out William's like business soon soon because we find out that Jason has been embezzling money from it. So Marcy tries to be friends with Kaisha, ends up having a female-female romance from it. There's lots of sex in the book, and just too much in my opinion. Just too much for a thriller in my opinion. So lots of stuff like that, crazy raves with naked bodies and lots of sex. After that, we find out that someone tried to kill William, and now he's kind of like, he's not dead, but he's like on his deathbed, and someone tried to poison him with coolant, which is exactly the same thing that Marcy, we find out, killed her first husband from, which that totally came out of nowhere. Kaisha ends up like being a suspect, Jason ends up being a suspect, and Marcy ends up being a suspect. Jason obviously was stealing money from the business, so he has the intent of killing William. Kaisha obviously wants all of William's money because he is a terrible husband and kind of like rapes her all the time and takes way too much Viagra, and she just wants to get rid of him, so she's a suspect of killing him. And then Marcy, who we find, like literally find out in the last bit, has killed her older husband because she only cares about money in her life and hates being married, doesn't want to have any kids, plays the I'm a stupid housewife kind of trope, but literally is just a spoiled ass selfish person, putting it lightly. We have all these characters that like obviously are just terrible people. So we find out that not any of those people killed William. It was actually Elizabeth, who was friends with William's first husband, Eleanor. They kind of grew up as in sisters, and Elizabeth also has this like voodoo grandparent that taught her all this voodoo black magic, and so she's been like cursing people throughout the whole book, and she is the one that ended up trying to kill William, and then she framed Jason for it because she asked Marcy who she wanted to be framed, if she wanted Kaisha to be framed or Jason to be framed. So Jason is going to die for Elizabeth killing William, and Marcy gets to go live with Kaisha and have her baby, I guess, because apparently William got her pregnant before the end of the book, before he was like almost dead. And so now Marcy thinks she got away with it all, but now Elizabeth is probably going to curse Marcy in the future, because we learned that in the epilogue. And so as you can see, there's just a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of these like side stories that like really put a huge focus on in the book that ended up having nothing to do with anything. There was like this black woman that was like a voodoo magic person that we kept like seeing like pop up all these places. Turns out that she wasn't even really a main part of the story. There's this like ghost boy thing that Kaisha keeps talking about that we find out was just an albino boy that she saw when she was a little kid, so he wasn't even a ghost. There's all this like black magic stuff that like literally didn't really have anything to do with the story. Whatever. Okay, I think that was the whole synopsis, and so let's get back into my final reviews and thoughts of this book. Finally finished Dead to Her. I think I'm giving it a 2-star rating because it just is not the type of book that I like. It's just not. I don't know. I really didn't like the voodoo black magic kind of trope in there. To me, that was just something that she put in there because the rest of the story was just like a domestic thriller and she wanted it to be more exciting. But to me, I just didn't like having that aspect in there. And then it also was like too much of a sex book to me. Like everything was very vulgar, and like I didn't know it was going to be a female-female romance, which like I kind of want to know that before I'm going into something. Like if I'm going to read a romance book, like I want to read a female-female romance on purpose, because you know, you're kind of like voting for, well, not voting, you're kind of like rooting for the characters in that book. But like in a thriller book, I just ended up hating both of the female characters and hating the female-female romance. And so, you know, like to me that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And then I honestly didn't like any characters. Like I know you're not supposed to like characters in a thriller, but this book I felt like I really didn't care about the storyline, how it was going to turn out. I despised every single character because all of them were just very selfish and just wanted money and just lied all the time. I don't know, I already told you guys that I didn't like all of the questions that it kept, like even after I told you guys that, it happened probably like 10 more times in the last 20% of the book where Marcy would be like, oh, I wonder if this is happening, but I wonder if this is happening, but I wonder if this is happening. And like to me, that was just bulk filler for the book. It wasn't really needed. I also think that the like side storylines, I think that the author like pushed them too much in the main story, and then in the last percentage when you're finding out what's true and what's not. It was just kind of like a 2-second write-off. Like Kaisha kept talking about the like little boy ghost that she kept seeing, and then in like the last 5% of the book, it was like, oh, Kaisha, that was an albino that you saw as a kid, and that was the end of it. Like, that was it. And so I don't know, it just wasn't my type of thriller. It wasn't done as well as I thought it should have been. I didn't really enjoy any of the story, which it took me a really long time to even finish this book. I kept having to make myself pick it up for this video because it just wasn't something like this. I just didn't like the story. There was nothing in the story that I cared about, that I wanted to know more of. And I guess because of this like author's first book, where it does have that like magical realism, I like was almost afraid to continue reading until the end because of the black voodoo magic shit. I thought that it was going to somehow be a magical realism book again, and I feel like you can only really do that once and do a good job with it. And so thankfully that's not how it turned out, but like at the same time, I just wasn't loving the story because I thought that that was how it was going to end. So I wasn't really, I don't know if even that makes sense. If you know that something is magical realism, like you're open to that, but then with this one, I wasn't sure if that was the route that she was going to go. So I was hesitant on even trying to like guess who was gonna be the person that murdered it, because I thought that the like witch voodoo lady like just cursed everybody, and that's like was gonna be the end of the book, I guess. I don't know, I'm giving this book a 2-star rating. I actually have Sarah Pinborough's other book, Cross Her Heart, that I have not read yet, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna pick it up or not because I haven't heard that many great things about it, and so not sure what I'm gonna do about it. But if you guys have read Cross Her Heart, let me know down in the comments if it's worth for me to read, or if maybe that this is just a dud author for me. It was just her first book was a one-hit wonder, but now she's just trying to like be crazy and do cool fun things, but it's not really working out. I don't know. If you did like this book, you can let me know what you liked about it. Obviously, don't come attack me in the comments because we're all allowed to have our different opinions, and so you can totally tell me what you loved about the book, and I'm not gonna attack you for it as long as you don't attack me for my opinions in this reading vlog. So I think that's it for this video. There really wasn't anything else to talk about. Like I said, it just wasn't a greatly written thriller in my opinion, but yeah, that's it. So I will see you guys very soon in another video. Bye everyone.